let's do it. Today, the first thing I wanted to just spend a few minutes talking about was some of my favorite fish foods, because it's one of the things that I get asked a lot. What's my favorite fish food? Have you ever tried this food? Have you ever tried that food? And so I figure, you know what? I've been using a couple of different foods, actually 3 or 4 different foods, and I got a whole buttload of food yesterday from this guy right here. Did you notice, Corey, that I was wearing that? So I've got a lot of foods in here right now, but there are 2 that I have been feeding regularly. One of them I've been feeding for 20 something years. I think you could probably easily guess what that is. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I'm not going to name any particular names or anything like that, but there watches YouTube or never does anything like this, or, consumes content on YouTube. They might order products, maybe read reviews, but they're not obsessed with online content about fish keeping like we are, like all of us weirdos are. Most of the hobby is just normal people that they love their fish and they take care of their tanks. They don't care about what happens. But in the online community, I've noticed over the last however long I've been online, you get these waves of fish food. While back it was Repashy. Everybody was talking about Repashy. It was the best food ever. You have to order it and it's expensive, and the fish it's just a miracle food. And then it became, I always said Dainichi. I don't know how you say that name exactly. That one was popular for a while. Southern Delight was popular for a while. Extreme, NLS, of course. And there's plenty of others out there that this has happened to, where there's just this huge wave where everybody online is talking about this particular brand. And it's the hot brand out there. There's nothing wrong with it. We are all of us, I'm not picking on anybody, all of us, we're all guilty of being sheep. We follow the herd. When we see everybody online talking about NLS, we just assume it's got to be the best food ever, because that's what everybody online is saying. And I've never really followed that. I've always just kind of stuck with what I know and what works for me, what my fish eat, what they like, what they do well on. That's kind of how I've always done it. However, one of the brands that I'm going to talk about right now is a brand that did go on one of those waves for a little bit, and that is Southern Delight. Y'all have seen these cans. I don't have any more of the red lids. I don't know why. Southern Delight is an interesting thing. I'm not doing a commercial for these folks. I'm not. I don't know Southern Delight. They don't know me. I'm just talking to you here. They didn't send me this food for free or anything like that. This is just me talking to you about some of my favorite brands, period. Southern Delight I had never heard of. When we opened up our shop, or we were in the process of opening our shop, we found a local wholesaler in our area, which was surprising that there was one close by. We go up there, we're stocking up all of our dry goods for our grand opening that we were going to have. And of course we got Hikari, of course we got Tetra, Omega 1. We got these big brands that everybody knows about. And he says, what about this? Oh, we got NLS too. He says, what about this? Have you tried this one? And it was Southern Delight. And I said, nope, no, I haven't tried it, and I've never even heard of it. So he starts telling me about it. I don't know why my eye is twitching. It always does that when I start recording. He says, everything's backwards. What's backwards? Can you pronounce my name? Okay, anyway, see, that's why I shouldn't look at the comments. I'd never heard of Southern Delight. He starts telling me about, this is a brand that is veteran owned. They're out of Florida. It's a small company. They're just, really starting to build momentum and all that. And I did what a lot of people would do. I was like, I don't know, because I've never tried this brand. I'm not going to buy a whole counter full of it, having never tried it before. I don't know anything about it. So he gave me like 5 or 6 cans to take back to the shop and try out. Well, I ended up doing that, and guess what happened? We ordered the whole line, and we ordered a ton of it before we opened. And what ended up happening was people would come into the store. We started feeding Southern Delight in the shop, and the fish did really well on it. I'm not saying they did better on that than they would have on any other foods, but they did well on it. So we started stocking up on it. Customers would come in and say, what are you feeding your fish? Because they look really good. Here it is. It's right here. So that's kind of how we got introduced to Southern Delight, and we stuck with Southern Delight for over a year, where that was religious. I mean, we were only feeding that brand in the store. There wasn't any reason for it other than it just worked. It's like an Apple product. It just works. Please don't go into a whole Apple debate here, because I don't feel like doing that. And I'm an Apple guy. Leave me alone. But it just worked. The fish were happy. They were thriving. They were doing extremely well. And they looked really good for the customers. So we were really happy with it. Before that, it was all about Hikari. Do I need to show you a Hikari bag? I just bought this over the weekend for Oscar at Petco. I mean, $9.99 for a bag of that. One of the best things about Hikari for me is accessibility. It's easy to find, and I don't care what anybody tells you, folks. You're going to have these elitist know-it-alls. You're going to hear me refer to elitist know-it-alls all the time, because I can't stand these people. Elitist know-it-alls are going to tell you what you should do. Oh, you should stay away from this, you should do that, you shouldn't do this. I don't pay attention to those people. I get my opinions, or I formulate an answer to my question by getting the response of a whole bunch of people. But you're going to have these people that are going to say, Hikari is trash, Hikari is junk. Look, folks, how are you going to be in business for over 100 years if your product is junk? We can stop talking about fish food right now. You're not going to be in business that long if your product is junk. It's just ludicrous to say that it is. Hikari is accessible, it's cheap, and the fish do well on it. No-brainer stuff. So those are the two brands. Now, if you recall, if you've been following me for a long time, I see some jerk said Apple sucks. If you've been following me for a long time, you know that we did go through a spell there where we were feeding Extreme. Now, that's another one. I am a huge, huge, huge fan of Extreme Fish Foods. We picked that one up almost for the same reasons that we did Southern Delight. We were buying fish from a wholesaler or a fish farm down in Homestead, Florida, called Florida Exotic Fish Sales. And we asked the question that people started asking us, what are you feeding your fish? Because, wow, they're amazing. And he said, well, we feed them this food that we make here at the farm, and we just so happen to manufacture it in bulk, and we sell it. It's called Extreme Fish Foods. I'm like, well, hello, I've heard of Extreme, let's go ahead and pick some of that up. So we picked up Extreme, and we had Extreme for the longest time. Extreme, Southern Delight, Hikari, and we couldn't keep it on the shelves. The other one was Cobalt Flakes, like you see right there. People went absolutely bananas for those. So that's just me telling you a little bit about what I've been doing in here as far as fish foods go, what we've been religiously feeding our fish. I can remember feeding my fish Hikari Fish Foods when I was 18 years old. I mean, Hikari is a no-brainer. I don't care what anybody says. I will argue all night long with people that say Hikari is crap. Yeah, that's just whatever. I mean, that's just garbage.